The jungle of infinite vines. The icy realm of the Vale of Frozen Stars was now a distant memory, and the gentle warmth of the sun began to welcome Tobian and Nivara as they ventured into their next adventure. The ship sailed into a new land, where thick, vibrant green jungles stretched as far as the eye could see. The air was heavy with humidity, filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the sounds of exotic birds echoed through the trees. Nivara could feel it in the air, the energy of life teeming in every vine, tree, and creature. It was time for another transformation. She closed her eyes, letting the magic of the jungle wash over her. Her ice blue hair slowly darkened, turning a deep forest green, with strands of gold woven through like sunlight filtering through leaves. Her skin took on a sun-kissed hue, warm and glowing with health. Her eyes turned a bright, emerald green, shimmering with the wild energy of the forest. Her gown morphed into flowing robes of deep green and brown, adorned with creeping vines, vibrant flowers, and leaves that seemed to move with her every step. She had become the spirit of infinite vines, embodying the untamed power of the jungle. Tobian looked at her with admiration. "You always seem to become one with the land, no matter where we go. It's amazing." Nivara smiled, feeling the pulse of the jungle around her. "This place is alive, Tobian. The vines whisper ancient stories, and the trees guard hidden secrets. We're not just visitors here, we're part of it now." They ventured into the heart of the jungle, where towering trees rose high above them, their canopies blocking out the sun in patches, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the ground. Vines as thick as their arms twisted around trees, and strange, glowing flowers dotted the landscape. Everywhere they looked, life was in constant motion, and yet there was a sense of stillness, as though something ancient watched from the shadows. As they walked deeper into the jungle, they came upon a massive stone archway, nearly swallowed by the encroaching vines. Carved into the stone were symbols of vines and serpents intertwined, telling the story of the jungle's wild and untamed nature. "This must be it," Tobian said, studying the symbols. "The entrance to the Temple of Vines. The legends say this temple holds the power of the jungle itself, an ancient magic that controls the growth of life." Nivara nodded, her hand tracing the vines on the stone. "But it's hidden deep within. We'll have to pass the trials of the jungle to reach it." As they stepped through the archway, the jungle seemed to come alive around them. Vines began to move, slithering across the ground and wrapping around trees, forming an intricate maze. The path ahead was constantly shifting, vines growing and retreating as if they had a mind of their own. Tobian glanced at Nivara. "Looks like the jungle doesn't want to make this easy." Nivara, now fully attuned to the jungle's energy, closed her eyes and raised her hand. The vines around them responded to her command, parting and forming a clear path forward. "We just have to listen to the jungle. It will guide us if we respect its power." Together, they moved through the twisting maze of vines, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the jungle. As they walked, the jungle seemed to test them, trees blocking their path, thorny vines reaching out to snag their clothes, and strange creatures watching from the shadows. But with Nivara's connection to the jungle and Tobian's quick thinking, they managed to navigate each challenge with ease. At last, they arrived at the entrance to the Temple of Vines. The massive stone structure was almost entirely consumed by the jungle, with vines creeping over every surface and flowers blooming in the cracks. At the center of the temple's entrance was a large, glowing crystal, the heart of the jungle, pulsing with life energy. As Nivara approached the crystal, the vines around it began to shift, revealing a circular pattern on the ground. Tobian stepped forward, examining the symbols. "It's a puzzle. We need to align these symbols with the cycle of life in the jungle. Nivara knelt beside him, her fingers tracing the patterns. Birth, growth, death, and rebirth, it's the jungle's cycle. Together, they carefully arranged the symbols, aligning them with the stages of life. As they placed the final symbol, the crystal pulsed brightly, and the doors to the temple slowly opened, revealing a vast chamber filled with ancient stone carvings and glowing green energy. Inside, they found a pedestal at the center of the room, holding a small, vibrant green stone, the seed of infinite growth. This seed, said to contain the power to create life in any barren land, pulsed with the energy of the jungle. As Nivara reached for the seed, the jungle around them seemed to quiet, as though holding its breath. The moment her fingers touched the stone, a surge of power flowed through her, and the vines around them began to grow wildly, filling the temple with life. The voice of the jungle echoed in her mind. You have earned the power of growth and life. Use it wisely, for with great life comes great responsibility. With the seed of infinite growth in their possession, Tobian and Nivara left the temple, the jungle parting before them as they made their way back to their ship. Nivara could feel the energy of the jungle still pulsing within her, a reminder of the wild, untamed power she now carried with her. As they sailed away, Tobian turned to her, already thinking of their next destination. Where do you think the next adventure will take us? Nivara smiled, her eyes gleaming with the vibrant energy of the jungle. Wherever it is, we'll face it together. And who knows? Maybe the next land will show me a new form I've never imagined. The jungle faded into the distance, but its power remained with them, guiding them forward to the next unknown realm and the next chapter of their grand adventure. The sunken city of Azarayun. As the jungle of infinite vines disappeared behind them, Tobian and Nivara sailed across vast, crystal blue waters, the horizon shimmering with a mysterious glow. The energy in the air hinted at something ancient waiting beneath the ocean's surface. Nivara could feel it in her core, a calling, as if the sea itself was beckoning her. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in shades of orange and violet, Nivara stood at the edge of the ship, gazing out at the water. The sea was restless, and she could feel the magic within it. The time had come for another transformation. She closed her eyes, listening to the rhythm of the waves as she allowed their energy to flow through her. Her forest green hair slowly turned deep blue, like the ocean's depths, with silvery strands glimmering like moonlight on water. Her skin took on a soft, iridescent glow, shimmering as if kissed by the light of distant stars. Her eyes became a mesmerizing shade of aquamarine, and her gown shifted into a flowing, translucent robe, resembling water itself. Nivara had transformed into the spirit of the ocean's depths, embodying the mysteries and untold power of the sea. Tobian watched in awe, as always. You never cease to amaze me, Nivara. This form suits you, powerful and serene, like the ocean. Nivara smiled, feeling the ocean's vastness within her. There's something beneath the waves, Tobian. Something ancient and waiting. I can feel it. The next morning, they anchored the ship near a group of small islands surrounded by shimmering, turquoise waters. As they descended into the water, Nivara used her newfound power to part the waves, creating a pathway for them to walk along the ocean floor. The sea was alive with vibrant marine life, schools of fish darting past them in a kaleidoscope of colors, coral reefs glowing softly in the dim light. But deeper still, they could see the faint outline of something massive, a city, long lost beneath the sea. The legends speak of Azarayun, Tobian said as they continued their descent. A city that was once the center of powerful magic, but it sank beneath the ocean after its people tried to control the tides themselves. As they reached the entrance to the sunken city, Nivara's eyes glowed with oceanic energy. The buildings of Azarayun were ancient, their once majestic spires now covered in coral and seaweed, but their grandeur was undeniable. Statues of sea serpents and beings made of water guarded the entrance, their eyes glowing faintly with magic. "We are not the first to come here," Nivara whispered, feeling the lingering presence of the ancient inhabitants. "But we may be the first to uncover the city's heart." Together, they ventured deeper into the city, their steps echoing eerily in the water. As they moved through the ruins, they noticed strange carvings along the walls, symbols of waves and whirlpools, depicting a powerful force sealed away. At the center of the city lay a massive temple, its entrance flanked by towering statues of ocean spirits. Inside, they found a vast chamber with a deep pool of water at its center. Suspended above the pool was a glowing, translucent orb, the heart of the tides. The orb pulsated with ancient magic, radiating an energy that controlled the rise and fall of the ocean itself. Tobian's eyes widened in amazement. The heart of the tides, it holds the power of the sea. No wonder Azarayun sought to control it. As Nivara approached the orb, the water around them began to stir, and the sea itself seemed to react to her presence. She raised her hand, and the water in the pool rose up to meet her, forming a spiraling column that encased the orb. "The sea is testing us," she said softly, her eyes glowing brighter. "We must prove we're worthy of its power." Tobian nodded, stepping beside her. "Then let's do this together." The room began to rumble, and the walls of the temple shifted, revealing a series of complex puzzles and mechanisms, all powered by the magic of the ocean. Tobian and Nivara worked in tandem, Nivara using her connection to the sea to manipulate the flow of water, while Tobian deciphered the intricate symbols and patterns that controlled the mechanisms. At last, the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place, and the column of water around the orb dissolved. Nivara reached out and took the heart of the tides in her hand, feeling its immense power surge through her. As she held the orb, the city of Azarayun seemed to awaken. The ocean around them glowed with a soft blue light, and the long-lost magic of the city pulsed through the water. The sea itself had accepted them. "We've done it," Tobian said, his voice filled with awe. "The power of the tides is ours." Nivara nodded, her voice gentle yet powerful. "But we must use it wisely, just as the sea does. This power isn't ours to control, it's a gift, a responsibility." As they ascended back to the surface, the sun setting on the horizon, Nivara could still feel the ocean's magic within her, the ebb and flow of the tides now a part of her essence. They sailed away from the sunken city, their hearts filled with the knowledge that they had uncovered yet another secret of the world. "What do you think lies ahead?" Tobian asked, glancing at her. Nivara smiled, her eyes sparkling like the sea. "Something wonderful, I'm sure. The world is vast, Tobian, and we've only just begun to explore its depths." With the heart of the tides in their possession and the call of new lands echoing in their minds, Tobian and Nivara set their course for the next adventure, ready to face whatever mysteries and magic awaited them on the horizon. The windswept peaks of Zephyrath. After leaving the depths of Azarayun behind, Tobian and Nivara journeyed north toward the towering mountains of Zephyrath, a land shrouded in swirling winds and hidden high above the clouds. Legends whispered of a sacred peak, where the winds carried ancient magic, and an artifact known as the Feather of the Skies could grant mastery over the winds themselves. The closer they approached, the more restless the air became, as if the winds themselves were aware of their presence, testing their resolve. As they reached the foothills of Zephyrath, Nivara felt the pull of the mountain's magic, a familiar call urging her to change once more. She stepped forward, closing her eyes as the mountain air swirled around her. Her deep oceanic appearance from the sunken city began to fade, her blue hair lightening and turning into silver threads that flowed like wind through her fingers. Her skin took on a translucent, pale hue, as if she had become part of the very air. Her eyes gleamed a bright, piercing sky blue, and her gown shifted into a soft, billowing fabric that seemed woven from the breeze itself. Nivara had become the spirit of the winds, embodying the freedom and power of the air around her. Tobian watched in admiration. "You're like a living breeze now, Nivara. The wind itself seems to obey you." Nivara smiled, feeling the strength of the winds coursing through her. "It's as if I've become one with the sky. Come, the mountain is waiting." Together, they began their ascent up the towering cliffs of Zephyrath. The path was treacherous, with gusts of wind howling through the peaks, but Nivara guided them effortless, her newfound connection to the winds making the journey smoother. Tobian used his magic to shield them from the harsher gusts, the two working in harmony as they climbed higher and higher. At last, they reached a plateau, the summit of Zephyrath looming above them. The winds here were different, swirling in rhythmic patterns, almost like a dance. At the center of the plateau stood a towering spire of rock, at the top of which rested a glowing, ethereal feather, the feather of the skies. "This is it," Tobian said, gazing at the feather in awe. "The artifact that controls the winds." But as they approached, the winds suddenly changed. A powerful gust swept across the plateau, and from the swirling air, a figure emerged, a massive, ethereal bird made entirely of wind and light. Its wings spanned the sky, its eyes glowing with ancient wisdom. "I am the guardian of Zephyrath," the bird spoke, its voice like a gust of wind through the trees. "To claim the feather of the skies, you must prove yourselves worthy of the winds." Nivara stepped forward, her connection to the winds flowing through her. "We seek the feather not to control the winds, but to understand them. We respect the power of the skies." The guardian regarded her with piercing eyes. "Then show me your bond with the wind. Only those who can dance with the skies may claim the feather." With a nod, Nivara began to move, her form flowing like the wind itself. She danced across the plateau, her body swirling and turning with the breeze, becoming one with the currents around her. The winds responded, lifting her gently into the air, where she floated like a feather in the sky. Her connection to the winds was undeniable. Tobian watched, his heart swelling with pride. He knew this was Nivara's moment, and her bond with the winds was unlike anything he had ever seen. The guardian watched in silence as Nivara's dance came to an end, her feet touching the ground softly like a whisper on the breeze. After a long pause, the guardian bowed its head. "You have proven yourself, spirit of the winds. The feather of the skies is yours." With a graceful sweep of its wings, the guardian dissipated into the air, leaving the path to the feather clear. Nivara and Tobian approached, and she gently took the glowing feather in her hand. The moment she touched it, a soft wind surrounded them, carrying with it the ancient magic of the sky. "We've done it," Tobian said, his voice filled with awe. "The power of the winds is now ours." Nivara nodded, feeling the feather's magic merge with her own. "The winds will guide us on the next part of our journey." As they descended the mountain, the feather of the skies glowing softly in Nivara's hand, they couldn't help but wonder what new challenges and mysteries awaited them. The winds whispered of distant lands and uncharted territories, places where magic flowed freely and adventure beckoned. Tobian glanced at Nivara, her wind spirit form radiating grace and power. What do you think lies ahead? Nivara smiled, her eyes bright with anticipation. Wherever the winds take us, Tobian, it will be something extraordinary. With the feather of the skies in their possession and the winds now at their command, Tobian and Nivara sailed forward into the unknown, ready for the next great adventure.